The film 2001: A Space Odyssey is the most overrated movie ever. There, I said it. I'm not taking it back either. You can write me off as a crazy person if you want, but this movie's just nonsense. Now, I don't like to bash on movies. That's not true, I kind of like bashing on movies. But it doesn't really give me any joy to discredit the amount of hard work that goes into making a film. Because believe me, I know how hard it is.
But enough.
But I'm also all for creative freedom, expression, and criticism. And I'm here to express my creative freedom to say that 2001: A Space Odyssey sucks. You suck! Before I jump into why this film's just a flaming pile of garbage, let me get a few things out of the way. First, the music is actually pretty good. Second, the scenes involving the sentient computer HAL turning against the astronauts is actually kind of engaging, but unfortunately those scenes are all too brief.
Open the pod bay doors, HAL.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Thirdly, I can recognize that many great films and filmmakers were inspired by this movie, so it would be inaccurate to say that this film is just a total waste. Lastly, 2001 is not the worst film I have ever seen. It's not even close to some of the god-awful movies I have seen. It's definitely not the worst, but 2001 is easily the most overrated movie ever. As somebody who studies filmmaking, director Stanley Kubrick's space epic is impossible to miss as being one of the most important and influential movies in film history. But only because people wouldn't stop talking about it.
Is it still the greatest movie in history?
It never was.
The American Film Institute, the Library of Congress, the Online Film Critics Society, the National Board of Review, Roger Ebert, virtually every A-list director working today, and even the Vatican says that this is one of the greatest films ever made. I personally know people who say that this is their favorite film of all time. And you know what? I'm glad you all enjoyed this 2.5-hour bore fest. Honestly, I am. Just like any other art form, movies are subjective, so if you enjoyed it, I'm happy for you. Seriously. I'm gonna touch more on this later because I'm not here to tell you you're wrong for liking it, but I'm just... Have you seen another movie? Just any other movie?
Why?
Because this movie's weird. Like, really weird. It's so weird, it's hardly watchable. I had to ask myself why I didn't just turn it off halfway through. And believe me, I wanted to.
Turn it off, please.
But then I realized the only reason I stuck it out to the bitter end is because there was so much hype around this film. It had constantly been praised as being a masterpiece and the best that cinema had to offer. But boy, was I duped.
You have been duped.
What?
Kubrick is known for using very long and drawn-out shots and scenes in all of his films, but this is just ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to go over every scene, but essentially the film consists of very little dialogue and a lot of avant-garde sequences that are either very boring or super annoying. The famous Stargate sequence goes on for 10 minutes. I'm not exaggerating, it's 10 minutes of just flashing lights. This is just a bunch of epileptic hogwash. If I flashed a light in your face for 10 minutes, you wouldn't call me an artist, you'd call me a jerk and punch me in the face. I simply don't understand how anybody can enjoy this sequence unless they're dropping acid or incredibly high. I mean, I guess that does make sense because it came out in the 60s.
Let's go drop acid with the Beatles.
But this leads me to my biggest problem with the movie is that it's so ambiguous that it all becomes meaningless. People have tried to interpret the meaning behind the film for decades, and Kubrick even said that there's not a specific point he was trying to make with the film, so that way people can just make up their own theories. Yeah, well, here's a theory. This movie blows.
What in the hell was that all about?
You know that painting you see in an art museum where it's just a bunch of blotches of paint on a canvas and you think to yourself, well, that's not art, I could have done that. That's what 2001 is. A bunch of people gave it meaning because they wanted it to mean something.
What does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
And look, it's not that I don't like a little ambiguity or a little open interpretation, but there has to be a little bit more focus to make sense of it. At the end of Inception, it's either a dream or it's not. At the end of Blade Runner, he's either a replicant or he's not. At the end of The Thing, they're either the thing or they're not, and so on. But if I dare say that 2001 is so ambiguous that it's pointless, all I hear is, well, you just don't get it. You just don't understand art, you charlatan. You're right, I don't get it because there's nothing to get. And hey, I'll fully admit that maybe Kubrick was a genius because he duped so many people into thinking that this film was a masterpiece.
You fooled them all.
Now, this all being said, this actually leads me to why I wanted to make this video in the first place. We all like listening to the critics and the popular opinions and looking at Rotten Tomatoes scores online, but the irony is that I actually agree with Kubrick that we shouldn't be told what to think of a film. You need to make up your own mind regardless of the popular opinion.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
Now, there's nothing wrong with giving a movie praise or recommending it to somebody, but one of the things I've always tried to get better about is always giving a movie a chance regardless of what the critics are saying. The best way to go into a film is with zero expectations. Now, I may not have liked 2001, but I do believe in keeping an open mind, and regardless of what the critics are saying, stick with your own opinion. Like how I'm sticking with my opinion that the Mortal Kombat movie is awesome, even though I know it's garbage. So I say give 2001 a shot. Maybe you'll enjoy it because this is just my opinion, and if you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. And you can also check out some of our other videos posted right here. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more videos like this.